The Spirituality Now podcast is sponsored by Delaflor Teachings International, a spiritual and systemic coaching and consulting company with the mission to help individuals, businesses, and corporations create brilliant futures through sustainable transformation. Also sponsored by the Network for Human Empowerment, a philanthropic TV network that serves Spanish-speaking communities with free, conscious education aimed to empower individuals to become the best versions of themselves. And our podcast producer, Ascend Media, Authority Syndication, delivering premium video marketing, podcast production, and social syndication.
Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor. I am not excited, not super excited, mega excited because today in the show we have I'm not sure if I'm going to say just a force for good. It's beyond that. Or a power, a divinity power as a woman. Is the only woman that I'm going to tell you something. I usually say, women have no balls. Women should not be doing those terms as masculine. But this is the only woman that has not only built a brand, but a movement where ladies having balls is actually very accurate and very powerful. And it's actually a higher meaning than just a masculine component. But let me tell you about my guest. And I'm so excited that my voice just got like cracking. Anyways, this is the excitement. This is spirituality. But before I introduce you to her, remember that we are a philanthropic-based podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Delaflor Teachings International, a spiritual and systemic coaching and consulting and mentorship company. We consult to companies, we consult to individuals, we consult now to athletes. We bring all of the juicy darkness, shadow work, family integrations, coaching, family constellations for business, for sales, for the spiritual component that is so essential for all business to have such strong foundations and sustainable results aimed to fulfillment and not only success. So success is so temporal, but fulfillment can fit your ability to have success on repeat. We're also produced by Ascend Media, Authority Syndication Marketing, that is so focused on having your message, your voice, your video production, your podcast production have an ethical component in the market so that what you share in the world is actually helping the world. We, Ascend Media, focuses in not adding more noise, but adding a strong voice of value to the noise that is currently in the world. So those are our shout outs for sponsors. The rest you will hear it in the intros, the outros, etc. So let me get with this gorgeous, besides this, I wish we were in the stage. Next year, we're in the stage of video podcasting. I'm a slow implementer because I am such a believer. My strongest core value in our company is the bamboo effect. And the bamboo effect is the bamboo grows 4 years underground and then strongly grows outside. I'm like that. So I'm going to honor my value, but I'm going to tell you, this lady is gorgeous in all the sense of the way. Like she's like a top model internally, mentally, physically, spiritually. She is, and I'm going to say a namaste after I say this. She's truly a badass of the highest order. Namaste, people. All right. So my guest today is Jody Jelas. She's the founder of the LadyBalls Movement, and it's accurate. It's a movement, and CEO of her digital agency, the PROFIT VORTEX. Ooh, I just felt I went into the vortex. She's one of the most sought after female sales funnel speakers on the planet, literally, and has traveled the world speaking about online strategies for over a decade. In the past 19 years, Jody has helped people all over the world to grow their business globally and develop business strategies that bring in millions of dollars a year. Jody harnesses the power of mindset, online presence, branding, offer creation, social media, and marketing. She helps her clients to create more free time and automate their businesses so they can spend their time doing what they really love. Like Jody has one of the most beautiful, I think you have 2 kids, but I remember they were little when I met them, before, and they're gorgeous. Born and bred. I love that she says bred. Born and bred in New Zealand and bred in Mexico. Jody has been a star-making online entrepreneur from a young age. She went to her first personal development training at the age of 14. Write this down. So, age of 14, and started her own web design business when she was just 21. In her 20s, Jody was one of the youngest Businesswomen of the Year Awards finalists ever. She's passionate about helping people kick their businesses to another level through tried and tested business strategies and personal development. She has worked on MasterMinds with top online marketers and personal development gurus from all over the world. Her LadyBalls Movement is a tribe of inspired women who are led to achieve their highest, scariest goals and want to surround themselves with leaders who can get them there. And truly, we need that more than ever in the world right now. LadyBalls is a space where women can come and feel completely supported in their mission, whether they be in their business, careers, as parents, and ultimately as their genuine selves. LadyBalls and all while being true to their 100% non-filtered, authentic selves. With that said, my beloved friend and, role model and gorgeous soul, Jody Jelas, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What an intro. I'm even more excited now.
Isn't that amazing to hear about some of the things you have accomplished?
Oh, it is. And while I was listening to you say that, I was trying to work out how long we've known each other, and it's been a decade. It's been nearly a decade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And I had the privilege to go to one of your events in Las Vegas and serve your amazing ladies. And I do want to tell people that you sell like super high, not only high ticket, but high ethical women. I remember the women that were present in your retreat. And oh my gosh, I was so inspired by the level that they are playing the role of not only being a woman, but entrepreneur and soul in this lifetime. So Jody, I have juicy questions for you that I've always wanted to ask you, but now I have the opportunity to ask you. So you said you started at 14. Tell me about it. This Spirituality Now podcast, I'm a very practical spiritualitist. I'm going to say that for me, spirituality is money. I always say that I meditate in Chanel. I like good brands. I like good stuff, but I really feel that spirituality is being who we are, that being fully who we are to conquer the shadow aspects of ourselves, go through the challenges. I know you've gone through a lot of challenges like myself, most people. And I want to highlight where you come from, because a lot of people sometimes, and probably this happened to you, see us and they think, oh, it's easy for them. There probably is because they're pretty. You are gorgeous. I mean, when people see your picture, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I get to interview like the hottest people in the world. Honestly, this should be Spirituality Hot podcast instead of Spirituality Now. But your background, your beginning is so important. And how did you got into personal development at the age of 14?
Yeah, great question. And before I go into that, I just want to say how, oh my goodness, the time appropriateness of this conversation. I actually was just talking on the weekend about when you came to my LadyBalls retreat and took my ladies through a process around rebirthing and just the effect that it had on me in the room. And like physically, I remember convulsing that room in that day. And oh my goodness, it was such an experience. And I was just talking about that on the weekend with someone. I was telling them about you coming along to that and the breakthroughs the woman had. So it was so beautiful. But the conversation was also around money and how often people confuse the language around spirituality and their beliefs around money, and that they think they're two different things that are opposites of each other. And for you, the way you bring those two things together is so beautiful and so needed in this world. So I just want to acknowledge that before I tell you my story.
Thank you so much. And I do want to attribute that just very quickly. I want to attribute that to people like you, because when I met you, we were in the mastermind. I have to pay tribute to our Kevin Nations, right? Papa Kevin Nations, because of him, I was able to meet people like you playing at a very high level, giving all that you were, and also charging money. I was not charging money when I went into the mastermind. So the role modeling of you all serving people at a high scale helped me make an integration and a kind of an amend on that belief that I had that money was separate from spirituality. So thank you. So start with your 14-year-old self. Please.
Yes, my 14-year-old self. So my dad's side of the family is Croatian. So they were always taught you work hard. And if you weren't good academically, you use your hands. And so my dad was a concreter when he was 15. He started concreting. And he had always worked really hard, but he made some decisions. We had plenty of money because the family came from Croatia and bought land, and obviously, that grew. But then my dad tried to do some new things that didn't work, and we lost everything that we had, and we had to go live with my grandmother, and it was just a big crash from the lifestyle that we had always known. So without the money, my dad suffered from terrible back pain, and he was not able to work. He was a big, strong, proud Croatian man who was bent over a stool because he couldn't sit in a chair. And at that time, I remember just feeling so helpless. I think I must have been 13, 14. And just thinking I couldn't help my father because I was just a kid. I didn't know how to make money to support him, and we weren't big on verbal communication. And they were trying to fuse his back together, and he refused to go through with that. So he wanted to find an alternative. And he discovered there was an ad on the radio for John Keogh Mind Powers, and they were talking about how you can heal yourself. So my dad went along to his course and that was my dad's first introduction to the personal development world. And he got so much from that he did start to heal himself. And then when they brought out Mind Power for Teens, he immediately wanted all of his children to be in that. And so that was my first experience to personal development. And, John Keogh now, he works in the quantum field, and it goes much, much deeper. But even as a 14-year-old, when, our thoughts become things, and our thoughts can control our bodies, and we were learning that at an early age. And I was so curious and just hungry for growth even at that age. So my dad introduced us to that world, and then that's where it began. Life got very dark after that. So I had a few tools, but then throughout my life, I just learned the importance of, how our minds work and how the world works and spirituality. And that was my first exposure to that at a young age. And I was just obsessed from then.
Wow, that what you just said, obsession. One of my current mentors that I speak of him almost in all of my podcasts, his name is Tim Grover. He's the mentor of Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. He talks about what makes the difference between someone that is going not only make it, but actually be highly successful like you've been. And it's the word obsession. So that's my next question. So you began to be obsessed because what did you notice that this was giving you? And it's amazing. I mean, I have to pay kudos to you. And I know right now we have someone helping us record this podcast, Sophie Montero. She started at 5, just making a shout out here, how important it is to start young. But what was the obsession? How did you feel the obsession? What was it giving you?
Power and control to direct the course of my life, not have the course of my life control me. It gave me the opportunity to, and you know what, just saying this now, I knew that I felt powerless when I saw my dad, bent over that chair, not able to do the thing that made him feel like a proud Croatian man and provide for his family. And I felt so powerless to help him. And there were things that had happened in my life when I was younger that, made me make a decision that I would never let anyone have power over me. It made me become very independent. I realize now through life that sometimes extreme independence is a trauma response. So I'm aware of that now. And that was definitely the case for me. But I think